Once again, a very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Swaminathan. I'm going to be a co-host for this evening along with VC and Akila. There's going to be a discussion with Kenneth Andrade and Vetri Subramaniam, moderated by Pramod Kumar, all of whom are from Wealth Advisors. With that, I leave it to Pramod to take forward the proceedings. Pramod, all yours.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. When I was talking to my colleague Sangeeta on the topic for this evening, we were thinking of the audience, and my concern was that the audience is filled with entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs. And how do I take a topic like India corporate growth and make it interesting? But luckily for me, I have two of my co-panelists. Both Kenneth and Vetri have a unique way of looking at things, and I'm sure they'll make it interesting. So Vetri, Kenneth, no pressure, but make it interesting. So just to set the context for our thing, I have a few slides, and I promise you it's just 4 slides or 5 slides, and it's not more than 2-3 minutes. So it's been a long winter for Indian corporate growth. As far as profit growth, after a period of really high growth prior to 2008, post the financial crisis, you've really had a period when you could actually say that we are in a nominal ice age as far as profits concerned. The table kind of illustrates this. If you look at it, from pre-2008 and post-2008, you have a significant increase in debt as far as corporate India is concerned. Interest costs have gone up, but virtually there's been absolutely no increase in profit growth. On the other side, balance sheet metrics not looking good. During the period of between 2008 and 2015, you virtually had return on equity half, and it comes to close to now 10%. And really, it makes us wonder whether businesses really want to invest in incremental capex, or is there a reason to be in business itself? All this while you have basically Indian macro improving quite a bit. On a relative basis, it's been kind of stable. We've been the fastest growing economy in a really slow environment. So macro's not been so bad. We've got some help from the commodity prices and some prudent fiscal management and monetary management. And therefore you have the two big worries which always used to plague Indian markets, which is current account deficit and fiscal deficit being under control. Inflation is certainly more benign than it generally is. Industrial inflation is really low, and that's one of the reasons why corporate profitability is not very high. But, corporate profitability has been kind of stuck. One's really concerned about it, but there are early signs of recovery, at least it seems if you look at the last few quarters. Net sales have started going up a bit. Operating profits have started going up a bit. So is this, the whole topic of our discussion is this turn real? Will global events derail it? Will Brexit, all of these things derail it? And therefore, these are the questions that I look forward to putting to Vetri. After a few of my questions, I'll open the floor to all of you to ask questions to the panel. So let me start with you, Vetri. In 2008, the CNX 500 basically, contributed 6% or profit was 6% of GDP. Today is 2.8% of GDP. What's been the real factor in this, and how do you see the profit structure or the profitability construct right now?
You're right over there. There's been a significant collapse in profitability. There are multiple factors that have fed into that collapse of profitability. Very large investments have happened in the economy. But unfortunately, many of those investments have not fully fructified. For example, if you look at the data that the government puts out, they have this number, which honestly I don't think this economic statistic exists in any other economy in the world. It's called stalled projects. And currently that number is running at about 11 lakh crore. So there's 11 lakh crores of money stuck in what you call stalled projects, which means there's capital blocked there, but it isn't generating any return. And I think It's typically things like this which have contributed to a dramatic collapse in the overall profitability ratios. You've got investment that's taken place, but it's not generating any revenue because it hasn't yet come into, sort of commercial production. That's hurting you as far as profitability is concerned. But that's not the only factor. You've also got issues like, for example, the commodity price meltdown means a lot of corporate profitability which was driven by high commodity prices has now sort of collapsed. You are also in an environment where there's a very low rate of nominal growth, low levels of capacity utilization, along with this capex which has not resulted in production, low productivity, low nominal growth. All these are contributing factors to the current low levels of profitability that we're experiencing.
Problem, and they did that only last year. So once you acknowledge that there's a problem, you start writing it off. And that's the event that started happening starting of last year. You've seen the public sector banks being very aggressive with it. So if you have to put a number to it, the last time in the end of the decade, the end of the century, the number peaked out somewhere about 10% of total banking assets. NPS peaked out at about 10% of total banking assets. And we've so far recognized or written off some part of about 6% of the total banking assets, and there's significant more amount of it to go. So the balance sheet reduction that will take place, now it's going to take place because banks are going to reduce or write off incremental assets, because most of these assets that have been there or been compounded or banking balance sheets have been in accumulated interest costs, which have no real economic value. So that's how Indian balance sheets are going to compress themselves. And most infrastructure assets, I think a lot of, so if we step back to 2005 and 2006, some of the power assets or some of the utilities were generating an ROE of 30%, which created the entire flurry of infrastructure assets start coming on ground. And no utility anywhere in the world makes anywhere close to those ROEs. They are a cost plus basis. So the entire ROE base has to come down. The only way you can bring it down is to cut the debt on your books. And the only way to cut your debt on the books is banks taking a haircut. So you recognize the problem. I think once you recognize the problem, this is the first year where even private sector banks are recognizing it. You see that pain reside in the system for another 18 months or maybe probably a little more. And I think we'll be back on track post that. So banks have to create financial capacity to expand the economy. But they can only do that once they've acknowledged the problem. They've acknowledged the problem. Companies who set up the assets have acknowledged that they are overcapitalized, and I think you're beginning the process of all over again. So another 2.5 years, I think we'll be back to the financial system creating capacity to grow the asset, to grow the economy all over again.
If I may stay around with the balance sheet itself, there are companies who are hugely leveraged, and you hear stories of how the top 10 corporates, highly leveraged corporates, contribute to almost 30 to 40% of the total leverage in the system. Can you paint all Indian corporates today with the same brush? And therefore, is the recovery going to be delayed for 2-3 years, or is it going to be, some corporates are going to move ahead faster?
I mean, all corporate India is going to be a problem for the banking system. I wouldn't want to distinguish the top 10 and the remainder part of it all, but 65% or almost 70% of the total banking system, credit of the credit bank, 70% of the total banking system has got exposure to the banks, to corporates. Banking system got exposure to corporates. So it's a very uneven economy that we are living in. And this has to even out over the next couple of years. Okay, so the second largest borrower is the real estate industry, and then you get retail and agriculture that follow. So you've got to readjust that entire banking balance sheet. It has to significantly reduce its exposure to corporate India and even it out on creating more demand, maybe through retail leverage or probably the other part of the economy. But this kind of exposure to corporate India can't sustain for a very long period of time.
The economy, you hear constantly that roads are being, there's a lot of investment that's going into roads. There's demand in certain sectors of the economy. How do you see it? Do you see this, the last quarter numbers that we saw, which surprised many of us on the upside? Is that turn real? I mean, are you seeing any anecdotal evidence of that and real evidence of that?
No, honestly, I wouldn't be guided by just what the last quarter numbers were. Simple reason being that the base quarter was so bad that if you hadn't seen a positive number this quarter, is what should have really caused a bigger surprise. Other areas, gloom still persists, and I think that's a fairly accurate summation of where the economy is. And to sort of throw a little bit more color on that, the RBI also publishes what it calls an Obicus survey, which is basically a survey of capacity utilization rates across industries. It's not a very long time series of data, it goes back about 5 years, but currently that data shows that we are about 71-72%, which tells you that currently corporate India is operating at a less than optimal and certainly less than full capacity utilization. So that is bound to create pressure on profitability. There is really no operating leverage. Well, if you wanted to be bullish, the other way to look at this is that as capacity utilization climbs, obviously profitability will climb. Kenneth talked about the deleveraging. As the deleveraging happens, not only your quantum of debt comes down, but because rates are down, even the interest cost will come down. So these could all be the potential ingredients which could lead to a profit turnaround at some point of time. But unfortunately, like the question that most of us get asked by kids when you're out on a long drive, are we there yet? With my kids, I normally tell them no, but right now I would say I don't know.
Sectors quite a bit, and therefore that starts leading into, there's a capacity for banks to lend to the personal sector, and therefore that demand will come back. How much do you buy into that optimism that the market is throwing at us today?
The one caveat I should give you, and I come from an industry that is to blame, because the thing that we often do is correlate. And the most important thing you should remember is that correlation is not causation. And I think when one draws these very simplistic conclusions, that good monsoon is equal to good agri spending, or for example, pay commission is equal to higher spending, I think some of this are a bit lacking in analytical rigor in that sense. If you look at the history of agricultural agricultural incomes and spending in the rural markets, the data tells you that it's a very mixed pattern. There's a very low correlation between actual monsoons in terms of whether it is a normal monsoon, which again is a very strange number, because that monsoon average doesn't tell you if there were floods in Assam and drought in the whole UP, Punjab belt where you need the rains, or Maharashtra, Vidarbha where you need the rains. So these are all averages, and I think sometimes these can be very misleading. So I prefer not to draw these kind of hasty conclusions. I'll give you another simple example. The reason why we all talk about this pay commission being a consumption boost is not because we have long time series data on this. It's because the last time this happened in 2008, there was a consumption boom. But what people forget is that consumption boom came at a time when the government of India was expanding its fiscal deficit at a rate which we had never experienced in the previous at least 5-6 years. So when you have extra money being handed out to somebody and the fisc itself is expanding, obviously consumption is getting boosted. But was it only because of the pay commission hike? I don't think there's enough data to tell you that that was certainly the case. Today, you've got potentially a pay commission hike, which in quantum is much smaller than the previous one, but it's coming in an environment where the government is saying, hold on, I'm going to continue bringing down the fiscal deficit. So you've got expansion because of this pay commission, but on an aggregate basis, you've got contraction. So can you get the same effect as last time? I have my serious doubts. And I would just say, therefore, that you've got to take some of these correlations with a pinch of salt. They are just far too simplistic. In reality, you need to be a little bit more careful about interpreting how these variables interact with each other.